Hey, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in to the Hanging On to Hope podcast.
I'm Brenda J.
And I'm Karen Wonder.
And we are HangingOnToHope.org.
This podcast is intended as educational and is not psychological or medical advice. Always consult a professional when needed, and we disclaim any liability in connection with the instruction, information, or advice given.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Hanging On to Hope podcast. This is Brenda J., and I'm here with
Karen B. So glad to be with you all again.
Today, we're diving into our first 4 episodes of the Religion Business docuseries, and we've invited a couple of special guests to join us, a few incredible women that said yes to being part of this conversation. Okay, so our first guest is Mandy, she's one of our board members. And our second guest is Jessica, who has a nonprofit called Fire Revolution, and she helps human trafficking victims. And Mandy also has her own nonprofit as well. So
thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
And honestly, we have no idea what they're going to say.
This is all as we go.
Yay.
Conversation.
Continuing with part 3. Yeah, this is really good. So we'll go to episode 4, Ministry, Money, and Sexual Abuse. This episode dives into how spiritual authority and financial power can protect abusers and silence victims. Survivor stories and insider accounts reveal just how deep this goes.
It's heartbreaking and infuriating. What did ministry, money, and sexual abuse bring up for you guys?
So the first thing that stood out to me, there was a guest, and I'm going to botch this last name. Was it Thomas Aquinas?
I think that's right.
So.
Yeah.
In the 1200s, he said that tithing was required for the Christian, not because the Bible commanded it, but because the Roman Catholic Church commanded it. He said if the Catholic Church commanded 12% or 19% or 20%, that's what would be required. Yeah. So it wasn't a scriptural mandate. It was an ecclesiastical one.
Right.
And that really stuck out to me because at that point you have lost all merit. They talked a lot about how tithing kind of came into play after the Civil War and churches were hurting financially. So they were like studying the scripture to see how they can get more money. And basically they landed on tithing. But I found that very, very interesting how the Roman Catholic Church was like, it doesn't matter what we require, we just do. It doesn't matter what the Bible says. Then you see these tithes being used for bigwig pastors or quote unquote the church to have a robust real estate portfolio like we were talking about earlier. But after that clip on Charles Spurgeon, one of the guests says the problem with some of the way the churches have gone is, like you were saying, Karen, the way some of the churches have gone is we worship the brand, which means in some cases we're worshiping the pastor, or we're worshiping this music style, or we're worshiping the sermons. We're not worshiping God. We're bound up in the church as a commodity almost and not in Christ. And which that then leads us to Ravi Zacharias, right?
Yeah.
He had a massive ministry and following. He pushed for the ministry to become a church affiliate, to evade the 990 reporting in order to hide the corruption taking place, right? And then he sexually abused numerous women. And the general counsel at the time said that, most of these women have checkered pasts. If we just show that, then we can discredit their narrative, right? And protect Robbie's legacy, which was the most important thing to them. And one even stated that she saw a Christian counselor who said not to tell anyone, even her husband, because it would do irreparable harm and damage to God after Ravi sexually abused her. And Ravi met with his staff one day. They went into the story of how he met with his staff. His assistant was telling the story. And he said he had as a donor with deep pockets, willing to fund the whole thing as long as it takes, right? The whole legal battle. And Ravi's assistant said something so good. She said, it was really the antithesis of who we're called to be as believers. I mean, we serve a savior who laid down his life for his sheep. And here you have a predator who's preyed on his sheep and is now using his funds to further crush those who are already marginalized. At RZIM, which is the name of his ministry, you're allowed to question Jesus, but you're not allowed to question Robbie. And
Big
I'm
red
like,
flag. Yeah.
woo, yeah. And when you have a pastor or a ministry leader saying, you belong to me, you need to do what I say, I am the spiritual leader, you don't question anything, huge red flag, huge. You need to leave, period.
Yeah.
Ravi Zacharias said the quiet part out loud, I thought, when he said, I don't know if it was an interview or what, I couldn't tell, but he said, when you get to the top in my profession, you've already proved that you have compromised your conviction several times along the way. And I'm like, whoa, right? Like, quiet part out loud. Anyone in his profession, spiritual leader, pastor, evangelist, whatever, you've already proved that you've compromised your convictions several times along the way when you're at his level. I actually remember when he passed away, a friend of mine, she was saying she couldn't believe all the stuff coming out about him. And I remember that conversation because I was at this point where I had seen so much behind the scenes, both in church and nonprofit world, where nothing surprised me anymore.
Yeah.
Right. And he was the first one where I'm like, yeah, sounds about right. And because there's so much corruption, right, oozing out of the pores of the churches, right?
Yeah.
And nonprofits. And there still is. There still is. It's slowly being uncovered. And then when, at the time, Vice President Mike Pence showed up to his funeral to speak at Ravi Zacharias' funeral, you know, he referred to him as the C.S. Lewis of our time.
Yeah.
Which is an atrocity, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, unless there's things about C.S. Lewis, I don't know, which could very well be the case. I don't know. But from what I know about the guy, please don't compare the two, right?
Right.
And it is so disturbing what churches get away with, like, especially, and I don't know if you guys feel this way, but I feel like this year, really the last 2 years have been particularly awful with all the pastors falling.
Yeah.
All the leaders falling. Right. Like it's like 2 a month, you know, 1 a month for the last like 2 years, I feel like. All this craziness, just finally the cloaks are coming off, you know, the masks are coming off.
Yeah.
And people are done. Like they're just done.
Yeah.
Because they hide behind the name of the Lord.
Yeah.
And people are done and they are fleeing organized religion because of it.
Yeah, I agree. You expect it, and, you know, they're going to call out a lot of other corrupt fields, but I expect more from a pastor, priest, or someone that's ordained, or someone that says they love Jesus and has committed their life to Christ. I just expect more. That's why this is so much more profoundly impactful to me. Like, I expect that. I expect that from everything else, but not the church.
I used to listen to Rabbi Zacharias and get something out of his teaching. And that's when it all came out. I was like, I couldn't believe it. And then the more I learned about it, because I know more than I need to know about it, but it's like he even justified it. Like, and there's more. They didn't get into all of that in the episode, but if you really understand everything he did, it's like, I don't understand how he could get up and preach and have this total disconnect and doing this and justifying it, saying, well, my job's so stressful, so I just need this release or whatever. And then basically
and the Lord's
just
using you, right?
Yeah.
You say that, like the Lord is using.
Yeah. I mean, it's such gaslighting, and just my heart aches for the women who, how could you, I mean, what's their view of God after this pastor is doing this to them? And
I'm not accusing any of them of being narcissists or sociopaths, but in all the podcasts and study that we've done on them, there's a disconnect in their brain.
There is.
They're really unrepentant and don't think that they've done anything wrong.
Yeah, they justify it.
There's a complete disconnect. So,
and and they're not willing to ask that. Like in this one book I'm doing with my girls, they said one of the best questions you can always ask yourself is, what if I'm wrong? Right. As they go about their business as these bigwig pastors, the whole time they're just thinking, I'm right. I'm closer to God than you are.
Right.
I know better than you do. Don't question me. I'm your spiritual leader, instead of saying, what if I'm wrong? Because that arrogance can take you down a path you don't want to go down.
Yeah, that pride.
And you don't even intend to go down it, but it happens.
Oh, yeah. And then I start to wonder, who are they even hearing from? Because sin separates you from God. So then I start to question that.
Well, yeah.
Like,
to me, Kenneth Copeland doesn't, I mean, he just looks demonic.
Yeah. Okay, so Jessica, you are up. What did you think
Thank you,
about
ma'am.
episode 4?
So just my background, I think, with the night name and understanding a little history of, my dad's family coming over from Europe and their relationship with the churches when they migrated from England to the United States. I was fascinated with episode 4 of the history. So, Constantine, Nate talked to, or I forgot the person's name that talked about Constantine and how, originally it was all about these other religions and all of a sudden Christianity was on the rise and Constantine was like, okay, let's give them a place. And that's really kind of where the Christian church got started. And originally, I think he said that Christianity was only in Asia and North America. It hadn't migrated into Africa or, any of the other continents. And that's kind of where the Catholic Church came in. And how when it migrated to Europe, the Christian church was so powerful. In order to become a ruler, you had to have a relationship with the Christian church. And like the Pope or the priest or whoever it was really the one that kind of ordained the new king or whoever the leader was coming in. And so I just thought that was very fascinating. And how they said, because of that, the European church, it just became so corrupt, which really, it kind of led the pilgrimage to the United States, and it broke up the Catholic Church, and that's how the Church of England, I think the Church of England got started. There was this amazing history. But what I was really surprised with, and I didn't know, was the structure of how leaders were selected and how Christianity just became so corrupt. And the reason I bring that up is because, it happened over in Europe and we're seeing it now in the United States, and how the position of power of whoever these big donors that are attaching themselves to a pastor, and probably the kind of the promise of being able to help all these people. And what caught my attention as well. So we're talking about Constantine, we're talking about the Catholic Church in Europe and where Christianity is at in the world. And then there was that one guest that he had that was in disguise. Mm-hmm. And it was about the church in Seattle that started
Judah Smith.
With Judah. And
Church Home.
Yes.
Yeah.
And how they had attached themselves to Justin Bieber.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And how all of that, that recognition and the fame and the notoriety of being attached to a celebrity, and just this dangerous path of how, the intentions are intentions. And it also talked about the seed planting. What was the name of the church that was, you would go to them and you'd have to raise half the money. What was it?
Ark.
Ark, yes.
Yeah.
And I was curious about how, if you decided and you paid back the loan, could you ever separate yourself, or were you constantly having to go by their agenda, the type of worship? You really didn't have control as a spiritual leader to lead your church the way you wanted, because this other entity that loaned you the money to start your church had some control in what you did. So it was interesting, the power, the influence, and just being mindful of how the enemy can get in there and shift what was intended to be good, into something that's not good, and how people get hurt.
Right. Yeah, it's a scary thing, how you can get that off and away from Christ and his word. And I was thinking about that today, maybe that's the example. So, Jesus in the Gospels, he has the disciples, and then there's Acts, and the church the Holy Spirit comes and the fire comes and the church starts to grow. I started thinking today, in Revelation, gives the examples of all the churches. So the point of what I'm saying is what example do we follow? We follow Christ's example in the Gospels. But as it grows, we have to be very careful, because corruption does happen. Mm-hmm. So it's very hard. This is such a tough thing, but that's why you read the word and obedience, humility, all those things, and being filled with the Spirit and the fruits of the Spirit. What are the fruits of the Spirit?
Yeah.
and just constantly humbling yourself before the Lord and having a personal relationship with Christ. That is just the most important. I had a talk with someone yesterday about this that was so torn about the docuseries, not in a bad way, just it was bringing up a lot of stuff. And I'm just like, well, it didn't affect me in that way because it just led me to follow what Jesus, Jesus's example in the Gospels and what he did.
Yeah.
Like when you don't know what to do, then you feed the poor, you help the clothe the naked, the hungry, the widows, the orphans, and you lead souls to salvation in Christ, Jesus. And if you don't know what else to do those things. And if you're not doing those things, then you need to reevaluate what you're doing and go, okay, no, I need to repent and make some change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good.
And I was just going to say, I listened to a podcast that Nathan did with another podcaster, and I think he might have shared this with us too, but he was talking about, I think he'd filmed all this like 12 years ago. And most of it, I think, was filmed 12 years ago, but he said he wasn't happy with it because he said, I was kind of angry, and it kind of came across angry, which I could see why it would. But then he said, so he spent the next 10 years really reading the Bible over and over, reading Jesus' words and really getting the Jewish Hebrew context and the Greek context and just diving in and really trying to understand the context. And he brought up a book, which I wrote it down what it was. It starts with a D, but it's like the early writings of the apostles. And he said, they had their problem then at the beginning of church, they had the issues of getting corrupted already. And so he was drawing on even the words of what the disciples did. And anyway, it was just really interesting. And it was, to me, just that motivation is because that's his whole point, is saying so much of this money could take care of all the problems in the world, like the poverty and homelessness and all of this. If it, it's not, we need to even give anymore. It's just, if we're more accountable with the funds that are being given. And that's his whole point behind it.
Yeah. And that was one of the arguments was, but the mega churches I see people getting saved. I see good things happening. And I'm like, yeah, but that doesn't have to change. They can still keep everything the same, but still focus on giving more of it outwards. Like instead of that being the last thing they're giving to, which is what's happening in a lot of places that I know about, it should be the first thing they're giving. It shows their heart posture.
Yeah.
It should be the first thing that they're pouring out to, but they're saying, no, we just don't have funds for that. And it's the things that Jesus is calling us to do. And I have actual living this out a little bit right now with some people that are conflicted. So yeah. And I guess I said, when I was talking about the churches in Revelation, I should have talked about all the churches that Paul, like she just said, like Paul had issues with churches. I mean, it happened. So,
right.
And I think that's, something too, like when Jesus was doing his ministry, during his time of his ministry, the one thing that people would say is he speaks with such authority. And back then it was, kind of the same thing. The people were dealing with gods and goddesses, and they were probably dealing with corruption as well. And it's kind of the same thing. And so Jesus was just this fresh air to everyone. And Paul too, because Paul was preaching to the Gentiles. And so I think, again, after just the first 4, I think of my heart posture and just making sure that it's in alignment with what Jesus did, and understanding too that he, he saw it when he was here, and it helped open my eyes to that part where people were like, he speaks with such authority. Why was there so many people following him? And now we kind of see why.
Yeah. Any end thoughts, Mandy?
For me, I really struggle with how to see it balanced. I really do, because I've seen the side of the coin where, church workers aren't paid their worth. They're giving their 40, sometimes 50 or 60 hours a week, right? They're mandatory voluntary hours and still getting paid the same pay. I've seen my father-in-law struggle his entire ministry career, where the mortgage to the denomination he was with was more important than his salary. So I feel like the majority of churches are struggling to make it financially.
Yeah.
I really do. I think the majority of them are struggling, but I feel like the ones who are like in these docuseries, it's just ridiculous. And they're doing it dishonestly.
Right.
And they're doing it corruptly. And so it's like, where do we find that balance where we make sure the people who are serving our kids and our families, and putting together programs and all these things. And it's their livelihood, making sure they're getting paid what they're worth, right? And where they can pay their mortgage, feed their kids. And like, where's the line there?
Yeah. I think there's no balance. Because as you said that, Nathan said that 55% of the world's wealth is from the church. So crazy. If you're saying, your statement is saying you see that most churches struggle, then that means there's just a small little portion that has that 55% of that wealth. So there is no balance.
I believe that with my whole heart. I believe that there's a small portion of churches that have that 55% of wealth, because I believe that.
Yeah.
I believe they do hold that. But I mean, what is it? The LDS church has, what did he say? Like $32 billion?
Yeah, it's in the billions. It's crazy.
So 265 billion. 265 billion.
Billion. You have the ability to buy 2 NBA franchises.
And have 20 billion left over.
Yeah.
See, can't even talk about it because we've never talked. We're like stumbling over numbers like over a billion, million.
Yeah.
We're like, what did we just say?
I'm just like, what are they doing with the money?
I don't know.
It's just hoarding it. Or being used and, not for what it's supposed to be used for.
Well, and then somebody did say, well, they help people start businesses. And I thought, well, then it is all going insular, because they said that none of it goes outward. So,
right.
They're still not doing those things like helping the poor and hungry and widows and orphans. Yeah.
Your congregation to tithe, like it's a requirement. A lot of people say it's strongly advised. It's not a requirement. It's strongly advised that you do so, right? But like when you have that guilt and giving 10%, right, of your paycheck every week going toward this fund, which, I love when they talked about how you're just putting it in this pot. You have no accountability for it. You have no idea where it's going. You're hands off. But like if you were to give it to another human who's hungry, or another human whose kids needs clothes, or then you're making that connection, that human connection that God created us for, right?
Yeah.
And it becomes very real very quickly.
Yeah.
But it's easier, and it's like that dopamine hit, right? We're all doing good. We're all doing good, and I don't have to worry about it now. It's out of my hands. Because I trust them to do what they need to do.
Yeah.
And again, it just falls back on the donors and their responsibility to make sure it's getting where it needs to go.
Yeah. And that's the hope of the app, is that it'll be transparent. I mean, that's its whole goal. Having the transparency on there.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we could go on and on and on, but I think we still got 3 more episodes to watch. You guys do anyway. So.
Yeah, I haven't seen those next ones.
Yeah. So these conversations are hard, but they matter. And I was just blown away at everything that you guys said, because it's so neat to hear what each person says. It's always something I'm not expecting, but I love. It's just very interesting how this docuseries, what it brings out in each person. So,
so we've all had very different paths, right? It's going to bring up different triggers for all of us.
Right.
What we've dealt with on a personal basis. I really appreciate this docuseries a lot, because I've been kind of on this journey the past 3 years or so, 4 years, of kind of that deconstruction journey, right? And then reconstructing built on truth, right? And the holisticness of the gospel and Christ. And it's so simple once you actually discover it. It's my yoke is easy, my burden is light, right? And I never really fully understood that until the last 4 years. And I've been a Christian my entire life. And so for me to start seeing this corruption, I would go places, I would patron, businesses because it had the word Christian in it. And it's whether it's a car place or it's restaurant, whatever. But then you find out they're the most shady of them all usually. And you're like, really? Okay, please take the word Christian off of your name.
Oh, yeah.
It's disturbing in every sense of the word. But you kind of get sick of that because people associate you with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad for the docuseries, because it really does expose how gatekeeping these places are, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like a bunch of fat cats sitting around,
Yeah.
getting wealthy off of your dollar.
Yeah.
When they say they're helping people, and it's really obnoxious.
Yeah.
And you're like, you're taking advantage of people with really good hearts.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what's sad about it. Yeah.
It's so sad. And you could be doing so much good together.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's crazy, is you have the ability, you have enough money now where you could even hire people to do the good, you know, like, honestly, like, hire people who know what they're doing. If you're in above your head.
He said that the Mormon church makes so much money just off the interest that they could never take another tithe from a member again and still be completely fine.
Oh, they could.
I think that was in a different episode. So you guys didn't hear that yet.
I think I heard that.
Was that? Okay.
Yeah. Well, maybe, I don't know if I heard it on the.
Seriously. Like, think about that. Like, he could pay the mortgage of every member in the church. Like, he could pay
off the medical debt or something.
Yeah. And yet they get invoices instead for the tithe they haven't.
And I don't think that the Mormon church was, I think he quoted something from Joseph Smith that it was supposed to be a temporary thing for them to pay that tithe. It was never supposed to get to this.
Yeah.
So,
and that's how a lot of our programs start out, right? Like, that's how a lot of it
start out with good intentions, but
because they require it. That's crazy, requiring that from every person that belongs to their church. So anyway, we want to thank you guys so much for coming on. This is going to be quite a few episodes, I think.
Yeah. Do you think Nate will like it? Does he have anyone else doing this?
I don't think so. No. Not like this. No, not where people are reviewing it. Then
let's talk about your docuseries.
Well, I'm just gonna laugh because I'm gonna be like Nate. I think I call him Nathan, but she's calling him Nate. I'm like, they're
isn't
like best
Isn't
friends.
that what he calls himself? I don't know. It was in one of the video in the docuseries.
Did he call himself Nate? I don't know because I just call him Nate. Yeah, so I'm like, she's better friends with him.
You sound like buddies.
Like besties with him.
He's like,
it's his docuseries fault. It's like what he calls himself.
Well, Nate. When Nate said to me, but that interview we did with him personally, like really, we just knew the docuseries was going to be amazing because he just was so real.
Yeah.
And knew his stuff and had studied it for so long.
Yeah, you could tell he put his heart and soul into that.
Yeah.
You know, what was interesting too is, and I don't know if you like ever heard this in your Christian circles, but basically people like when they would get to a certain point in certain denominations and they would ask too many questions, then they would be ostracized basically and cut off. Like you're asking questions, like go away.
Yeah.
Type of thing. And so my dad always said, I would never ever turn someone, away because they're asking too many questions about the Lord, right?
Right.
Or about Christianity. Like questions don't scare me, right?
They should welcome questions, yeah.
Right, exactly. And you should be open to that at all times. And so what was so interesting to me about when he went to go visit Kingdom Builders is he was just shut down and kicked out, right? Or when he visited
Kenneth Copeland's
airstrip and security came out, and which, I mean, private property, whatever, but it's like, oh, I'm here to just ask some questions. Like, I'd love to get some answers. And no one would talk to him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we can pretend like it doesn't happen in our Christian circles, but it does.
Right.
It absolutely does. It's like you start asking too many questions and you're done.
And it's very hard to see Kenneth Copeland getting rushed off like he's this big celebrity. And like, I just love when a pastor's just standing there and will just talk to you after the service and they don't think that highly beyond. And
it's so sweet. Yeah. My aunt was telling me she went to, what was that revival with Jesse Duplantis, I think it was, where people would shove money in his pockets and like in his vest.
Really?
They would literally just shove money like during the service while he's preaching, like shove money.
Wow.
And I think it was Duplantis.
Either that or Benny Hinn. I can't remember.
Benny Hinn.
Benny
Hinn.
Hinn. I've been to a Benny Hinn conference and it's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, he was on 60 Minutes or something, the way they actually called out how he does. I mean, has people planted and.
He does.
And I think he's actually, I heard that he's kind of changed his ways now. Like he's like in his 90s or something like that, where he's like, he's like stepping back, like kind of, maybe I didn't get that quite right,
Really? So.
Yeah, but like my aunt was saying, she went to, I think it was Benny Hinn, thank you. And she went to one of his revivals and she's like, I just loved him or whatever. I'm like, oh, cool.
I'm still trying to process how he does it. Like, we were in the chaplaincy program when we went, and we listened to his music and some of his teachings, and I did get stuff out of it. But man, like I was in the middle, and I'm still processing. Like, how the freak did he do this?
It's like almost like they put like pixie dust over the audience, right? And just have them totally in a trance. Like, crazy.
I have a list of people that I want to talk to when I get to heaven, and he's on my list.
There's an interview on YouTube when they're interviewing, some gal's interviewing Kenneth Copeland. I can't remember if that was on the docuseries or not, but I mean, he really does look demonic when she talks about
He does.
He's just like, don't you say that. His eyes, it's like, yeah. No.
They're intimidating. Like,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
Well, I'm glad this all came out. It's coming out.
Yeah, it needs to be exposed.
I just pictured like Jesus up in heaven being like, wow.
Yeah. Like when they overturn them.
Okay, we got to do something about this now.
Yeah.
Yes. I was referring to it because you see all this junk coming out and like all these Christians are finally standing up, especially women now.
Yeah.
We're like finding our footing and our voice, and it's been amazing to like be a part of that whole thing. But I was telling my friend the other day, I'm like, it's like deep cleaning. It's like your house looks so gross and messy as you're like pulling everything out of the closet, right? Before you can put it back in, like in a nice orderly fashion,
all being shaken up.
Yeah, like I'm like, we're in the middle of this like deep cleaning now.
Yeah, like purging.
Just, yes, and it is ugly. It is so, and it's embarrassing.
Yeah,
right?
It is.
It is.
It really is.
Yeah,
it's hard. It's hard to even think about.
Yeah, like.
But I'm just so glad we're all individually are having a real, just intimate time in relationship with Christ.
Yeah.
Like to that place. It takes time to get there.
Yeah,
it does. And it's so interesting to me because I think it really hit me. I started crying when I was telling my husband about this because he was kind of asking how I was doing. And I'm just like, I just came to this understanding that I'm like, God is just, he's obsessed with me. And I'm obsessed with him, and he's obsessed with you.
Yeah.
And he's obsessed with you, and he just he created us for a relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? That was the whole purpose. And I've never been able to rest in that. Right?
Yeah.
Because when you head up a nonprofit, as all of you know, is like you're this doer, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're a doer and a mover and a shaker and a fixer, right? All the time. And it's just so wonderful to rest in the love of Christ, to just soak it in.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's just such a different experience.
Yeah.
It really is.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing I got out of it was just being thankful for the people of God that he's put in my life.
Yeah.
That aren't those people.
Yeah.
Like I had to say that to you. Thank you for being so awesome.
They put Sanhoon to shame.
Thank you for being so awesome.
Yes.
Seriously, yes. It makes you grateful for good people.
Yeah. People that are doing it right.
Well, we love you guys, and hopefully you're open to doing. We'll try to make the next one a little shorter because it'll only be on 3, and we've already said a lot. So, but it's more. I don't know. When I watched the last 3, it made me more. I felt the love of God. I can't explain it. It was more, even though he was calling out bad stuff. I saw when you see the things he shows. Yeah, because he shows some nonprofits in the U.S. too, and it just shows. I don't know, it just melted my heart. I think being in part of nonprofits, you'll get one.
Yeah. Yes, he's just showing the genuineness of Christ, what he wants to do.
Yeah. And her just saying, we can't be the change without money. I mean, that is so true.
Well, and God's creative. It doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to make people feel guilty to support
Right.
him. He doesn't want that.
Yeah. All right. Love you guys. Thank you.
Love you guys.
You both did a wonderful job.
You did.
You really
guys-
did.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay.
Nice to
Bye.
meet you, Mandy.
You too.
Bye.
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 Okay. We were moving everything around. So I'm a little bit discombobulated. And then,
Yeah.
but this is our woman cave now. She gets to join my woman cave. They have a secret password to get in and everything.
I love it. Scans your retinas.
The secret password is Karen B.
Not Karen.
If you ever want to come to the woman cave, Jessica, it's Karen
Got
B.
it. I'm putting it in my phone with all my other passwords.
Thanks for tuning in to Hanging On to Hope. Check out our website, hangingontohope.org. There are resources on there, and if you would like to donate or volunteer, you can do that through our website. We are a brand new nonprofit, so we appreciate any and all support. And we thank you for listening, and until next time, keep hanging on to hope. We are evidence that there is hope and healing for you, and our passion is to help you find it too. So thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for listening, everyone.